There was a time when food in Britain didn't come with rules, warnings, or labels telling you how to feel about it. You didn't eat to reward yourself. You didn't eat to distract yourself. You ate because it was mealtime. And when the meal was over, you moved on with your day. Back in the 1950s, 60s, and well into the 1970s, most people never thought of themselves as watching their weight. The idea simply didn't exist in everyday conversation. Yet, if you look at old photographs from seaside holidays, factory floors, school playgrounds, or family gatherings, one thing stands out clearly. Obesity was rare. Not because people were trying to be slim, but because life itself quietly shaped how they ate and moved. To understand how this worked, we have to step back into kitchens, dining rooms, and streets that no longer exist in the same way. Life in post-war Britain was still influenced by rationing long after it officially ended in the mid-1950s. An entire generation had learned to treat food with care and respect. Meals were planned. Portions were considered. Waste was something you avoided, not something you shrugged off. A typical dinner plate would surprise many people today. There was usually a small portion of meat, not piled high, but carefully served. The vegetables, however, were generous. Cabbage, carrots, turnips, swede, peas, and Brussels sprouts filled most of the plate. Potatoes, boiled or mashed, did the work of making you feel full. The meat added flavour, not volume. There was no going back for seconds as a matter of habit. You ate what you were given. If you were still hungry, you waited until the next meal. That wasn't seen as hardship. It was simply normal. Meals followed the clock, not moods. Breakfast came in the morning. Dinner in the middle of the day for some, or tea in the early evening for others. Supper, if it existed at all, was light and modest. The idea of eating late at night, while sitting still, just didn't fit into daily life. Breakfasts were simple and filling. Porridge was common, especially in colder months, made with water or a little milk. It was warming and satisfying without being heavy. Toast came with a thin scrape of butter, not thick layers. Sugar and jam were used sparingly, more as flavour than indulgence. The famous full English breakfast did exist, but it wasn't an everyday event. It was reserved for weekends, special occasions, or for people about to do hard physical work. And that distinction mattered. Food was matched to effort. Nobody ate heavily and then sat down all day without moving. That balance between eating and activity was built into life itself. Britain, before universal car ownership, was a country that walked. People walked to the shops, to work, to visit family, to catch the bus. Children walked to school and back again, often in all weather, without anyone thinking twice about it. Shopping wasn't done in one enormous weekly trip. It was spread across the week. The butcher, the baker, the greengrocer, each visited separately. That meant repeated movement, carrying bags, climbing steps, and standing in queues. It wasn't exercise in the modern sense. It was simply how you lived. Inside the home, everyday tasks demanded physical effort. Washing clothes involved lifting heavy loads, wringing water out by hand, and hanging washing outdoors. Cleaning meant scrubbing floors, beating carpets, polishing furniture. Cooking required time spent standing, stirring, lifting pans, and preparing food from scratch. None of this was seen as health-focused behaviour. It was just life. But it meant bodies stayed active, without conscious effort. Treats, when they appeared, were genuinely special. Chocolate was something you had occasionally, not something you grabbed every day. Biscuits were brought out for visitors or afternoon tea, and even then, you helped yourself politely. Children learned early that sweets were limited. You made them last. You appreciated them. Puddings were modest and homemade. Rice pudding, bread and butter pudding, stewed fruit, jelly and custard. Sweet enough to feel comforting but not overwhelming. Cake existed, but it wasn't constant. It appeared for birthdays, Sundays, or special visits. Afternoon tea played an important role. Around 4 o'clock, work paused briefly. The kettle boiled, a cup of tea, perhaps a biscuit or a slice of cake, and a moment to sit down. This break wasn't about endless snacking. It was a structured pause, a bridge between lunch and the evening meal. Evening meals were eaten early by today's standards. 5 or 6 o'clock was common. After that, the kitchen effectively closed. There might be cocoa before bed, but rummaging through cupboards late at night wasn't part of the culture. Eating had boundaries and everyone understood them. One of the most powerful influences on eating habits was the family table. Meals were eaten together whenever possible. There were no screens, no phones, no background noise. People talked, they listened, they ate slowly. This mattered more than people realized. Eating slowly meant noticing when you were full. Stopping felt natural. Meals lasted longer, not because there was more food, but because there was more connection. The Sunday roast became the symbol of this way of life. A weekly ritual that brought families together, a modest joint of meat, carved carefully so it would stretch. Plenty of vegetables, roast potatoes, gravy, and perhaps Yorkshire pudding. Second helpings were rare. Conversation filled the space where excess might otherwise have gone. Work itself demanded energy. Britain in the 50s, 60s and 70s was still a nation of physical labour. Factories, shipyards, mines, construction sites and workshops employed millions. These jobs required movement, strength and endurance. Even office work was more active than today. Paper files, stairs, walking messages between departments. There were fewer shortcuts, and that meant more movement throughout the day. Women's domestic work was equally demanding. Without modern appliances, keeping a household running required real effort. The day itself burned energy, quietly and consistently. Looking back now, it's tempting to search for a single secret, but there wasn't one. It was a combination of habits, routines and limits that shaped behaviour without anyone naming them. Food was respected, not feared. Hunger was tolerated, not panicked over. Movement was unavoidable, not scheduled. Modern life has removed many of those natural boundaries. Food is everywhere all the time. Portions have grown. Eating has become disconnected from effort. And meals are often eaten alone, quickly and without attention. The lesson from old Britain isn't about deprivation or hardship. It's about structure, about rhythm, about lives where eating had a place, but not the central role it often plays today. Perhaps the real wisdom lies in remembering that health once emerged naturally from ordinary routines, not from rules, plans or promises, just from lives that moved, meals that ended, and treats that waited their turn. What do you remember about eating growing up? Did your family have set meal times? Did the kitchen close at night? Share your memories in the comments. And if these quiet stories of everyday Britain still resonate with you, subscribe to Old Britain Remembered, where we keep the past alive, gently, honestly, and one memory at a time.